About a week ago, which will be about 2 weeks by the time you're watching this video, I caught a pretty nasty stomach bug, which is why I was absent for the last week trying to recover. But I'm fine now. I've returned from the land of the almost dead, and now I want to talk to you all about the current GPU pricing decline that we've been seeing over the last month or two. There's a lot of information out there about current trends, and a lot of people, like myself, that are super hopeful for a return to normalcy in terms of computer hardware pricing. But I would like to take a minute real quick and rain on the parade as you temper your expectations. Throw a good old wet blanket on the party and be a Debbie Downer and just, be that guy. Everyone loves that guy. By the way, if you don't care about all the deliberating and explanations for what's going on, you can skip ahead to this timestamp that I put on the bottom of your screen to see what my prediction is for the near future.
You smell that? It smells like a bit goblin.
Just to give you some background so you know where I'm coming from personally, I'm very fond of the technology behind cryptocurrency. It's really interesting to me from a technological point of view in having a fully digital and decentralized currency, though personally I haven't used crypto that much. The most I've really done was signing up for the Brave BAT or BAT tokens. The couple times I have tried switching over to the Brave browser and getting LBRY tokens when I was uploading videos to LBRY with my Ascendings channel way back when. And otherwise, I really haven't done much else. I don't really have anything against it per se. It just always seems like such a hassle to get set up and get involved with it without much benefit to me once I've gotten through the hurdle. And yes, I am a bit lazy, but that's irrelevant to this conversation. But suffice to say, I am not much of a crypto bro, and I'm not really a huge fan of how crypto and the current fad of NFTs are being used. I can see the use cases with actual real world benefits for it, but most of what we've seen recently has really all been based on speculation to make money, and in the case of NFTs, somehow creating scarcity of a non scarce resource, which, come on, guys. Now, why does my stance on crypto matter? Really, it doesn't. I'm just a doofus on the internet, but crypto has had a substantial impact on GPU pricing the last year and a half or so, as crypto miners were gobbling them up in bulk to expand their farms and thus make more money mining crypto. The fact that you could potentially turn a large profit by running a large crypto mining farm or just simply helping subsidize your investment of a GPU is what made it make sense to pay such outrageously marked up prices, whether it be from manufacturers and retailers or scalpers trying to take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, the only people purchasing would be those with more money than sense, or who were too impatient for their own good. Plus, the other problem this whole mining bubble created was the essentially unlimited demand for cards. Normally, people will buy one card for their gaming rig or workstation, but with the mining craze, a lot of people were attempting to buy as many as they can at a time, and then still remaining in the market for more to expand their farms. But this all leads us nicely to the crux of this video, which is we're finally starting to see graphics card pricing on the secondhand market drop, and this seems to be not just a random dip, but more of a longer term trend where we may finally be able to afford and reasonably attain graphics cards once again. Great! This is what we've been waiting to see, and this seems to be due to a combination of both the price of Ethereum having fallen a little bit and the impending switch to proof of stake, which would make mining Ethereum with GPUs all but extinct. To elaborate a bit more on this, let's take a look at the price of Ethereum over the last year, and we're going to do that over on ethereumprice.org, which has this handy little chart. This chart shows us nicely how much Ethereum is worth in the amount of Bitcoin on this purple line, which we're going to ignore for now, and how much it's worth in US dollars, which is what we see on this blue line. We can see that it peaked in early November, somewhere around here, of around 4,800 US dollars, and since then it has more or less been trending downward till somewhere in late January, where it hit somewhere around just under 2,500 US dollars. And since then, it has been pretty much just jumping around between 2,500 US dollars and 3,000 or so. Of course, this doesn't always mean that Ethereum will always be worth this price, as currencies will always fluctuate in relation to each other. And we can even see in the last year, earlier on, we even had a peak of around 4,200 US dollars before it tanked, and then slowly recovered before this most recent peak of around $4,800. What makes this current trend notable, though, is in combination with the aforementioned switch to proof of stake that Ethereum is currently looking at making in sometime this summer. As you would expect, this drop in price has made it less profitable to mine recently, since you will have to still account for the price of electricity, which likely hasn't changed or possibly even gone up with recent global events, which leads to a longer ROI time, and again, combined with Ethereum's looming shift to proof of stake, just makes it less feasible to spend a ton of money on GPUs to turn a profit. Plus, there were tons of scalpers trying to get in on this mess for a quick buck, and I would expect to most likely panic and sell their stock at some point as GPU prices decline and they want to make what money they can, or at least not lose quite as much as GPU prices bottom out. So, thus, my prediction is eventually we'll see an influx of cards that are hopefully going for more reasonable prices once miners and scalpers look to move their inventory and get what returns they can. We'll still see mining happening on a much smaller scale on other cryptocurrencies. I highly doubt that will ever truly vanish completely, and gamers can rejoice with their GPUs as we approach the next series of graphics cards from AMD and Nvidia. But I don't think we're entirely out of the woods yet. Overall, cryptocurrency mining was just one part of the issue, and we'd still be having at least some problems with obtaining graphics cards, even if cryptocurrency mining completely just poof, vanished into the wind. We're still in the middle of a silicon shortage. We still have a ton more people that have taken up PC gaming and streaming as a hobby since the start of the pandemic. Shipping is still a complete and utter disaster globally, and at least in the US, we're still being required to pay a 25% tariff for parts sourced from China. These are all problems that will need to be resolved before we see a return to normalcy, prior to the pandemic, or it's also likely that we come upon a new normal that may be worse than what we had before, but at least more reasonable and more tolerable than what we've been seeing. The silicon shortage is probably one of the biggest problems here, considering that it not only affects our tiny little niche of PC gaming, but also much larger markets like cars, enterprise networking and servers, and just a ton of others. At my day job, the price of higher end networking equipment and servers has gone up quite a bit from what it used to be, and lead times for everything is significantly longer than before, which has required us to plan much farther in advance. For example, we've had to change our networking configuration a few times for building out new racks, as lead times for Juniper switches keep extending. Some of the recent lead times we've been getting have been several months or even a year in some cases, depending on the model of switches. That just makes it really tough for project planning and trying to get things out in a timely manner for, people to do their work. Also, the US's tariffs on importing Chinese goods are a pretty nasty bug. I really don't want to get into the politics here of whether it's right or wrong and all that junk, since some people can get pretty heated on that topic. But right now, what we do have is basically a higher floor for pricing. I'm sure they don't have a direct one-to-one impact on MSRP pricing for new hardware, but they definitely are taken into account by Nvidia and AMD when determining what a reasonable MSRP is to target, so there's a fairish playing field for their add-in board partners. And this is a big part of my theory as to why the initial RTX 3000 and RX 6000 series cards released in 2020 look like such bangers for the price, but the cards released since January 21 have been kinda mediocre by comparison. The other part is, of course, manufacturers taking advantage of the situation to inflate profits a bit. But conspiracy theories aside, even if this doesn't directly impact the secondhand market, it does mean that buying new graphics cards, at least in the US, will be still a bit more pricier, and in turn that means that older used cards will hold their value a little bit longer since they'll still be considered a deal compared to buying new cards. I can also see scalpers still having a role in the market, even if it's a much smaller one than before. The shipping issues are a pretty big wildcard that will likely fluctuate over the course of time, and if cards either can't be produced fast enough because supplies aren't being delivered, or if cards aren't being delivered to retail stores to be sold, then obviously we'll be back to a similar situation, just without as insanely inflated pricing unless there's a new way to make money with PC hardware. So yeah, that's a lot to take in, but overall I do think we are headed in the right direction. The gist of my prediction is that, assuming Ethereum sticks to its guns this time and actually makes the switch to proof of stake, we will see a sudden glut of GPUs hit the secondhand market as miners and scalpers will try to move their inventory to make what returns they can still get. In turn, prices will steadily drop till around MSRP level-ish, if not slightly higher. Availability will be better, though not entirely great, and we'll still have a much happier crowd in the PC gaming community. But of course, we still have several other issues to sort out, like the global shipping catastrophe, and the US has some tariffs that it needs to deal with still. So we won't be seeing a huge pricing crash like we saw a few years ago when we had an influx of GTX 1000 and RX 400 series cards flooding the market for dirt cheap. And we may even have random temporary spurts where inventory is low for a little bit, but it'll still be vastly improved over what we have been dealing with for the last year and a half or so. It may not be perfect, but honestly, I'll take an improvement. Alright guys, that's all I have for this one, so please let me know in the comment section below if you agree with my prediction, or if you disagree with it, then I'd like to hear what you think will happen. It's really hard to accurately predict what exactly will happen. My crystal ball is a little off these days. But I do think while things will get better, it's going to take a lot more than just crypto mining going away for things to be what they used to be. Or at least being, somewhat reasonable to afford decent graphics cards. I don't mean to be a downer or anything, but I think it's important to not get too excited too quickly just to have your hopes dashed again. Cautious optimism is best in these situations. Again, I'd like to apologize for my being absent for a week due to illness, but I'll try to make it up to you all with an extra video once I'm fully back in the swing of things. If you disliked the video, then you know what to do, but if you did like it, then go hit that like button and also consider getting subscribed and hitting the bell icon so you don't miss my future videos. I've also got a Discord server if you'd like to join the community and just chat and hang out with us, or if you need it, you can come get help with your tech problems. I hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one.